collapse. Plus, Trump hit Brazil with 50% tariffs on steel, demands end to Bolsonaro trial. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. First in the news this morning to a national scene where Vice President Kashim Shettima has raised alarm over the scale of malnutrition in Nigeria, warning that the condition is depriving nearly 40% of children under the age of 5 of their full physical and cognitive potential. Speaking at the National Summit on Nutrition and Food Security held in Abuja, Shettima, who was represented by the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Office of the Vice President, Senator Ibrahim Haddad-Jaji, described the situation as a national crisis that must be tackled urgently and collectively. The Vice President announced that the federal government had launched a Nutrition 774 initiative, a grassroots focused program aimed at addressing malnutrition in the country's most neglected communities. According to him, the initiative has been approved by the National Council on Nutrition, which he chairs. Away from that, the federal government has expressed concern over the recent decision by the United States to impose tighter visa restrictions on Nigerian citizens, describing the move as disproportionate and calling for reconsideration in the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation. This comes just as the United Arab Emirates imposed tougher entry conditions for Nigerian travelers, banning transit visa applications entirely. According to new directive from Dubai Immigration, Nigerians aged 18 to 45 will no longer be eligible for tourist visas unless accompanied, while those aged 45 and above must provide a 6-month personal bank statement showing at least $10,000 monthly balance before they are granted visas. On Wednesday, the British High Commission in Abuja also announced a change to the United Kingdom's immigration process for Nigerians applying for study and work visas. The announcement by the U.S. Department of State in Abuja on Tuesday indicated that effective July 8, 2025, most non-immigrant and non-diplomatic visas issued to Nigerians will now be valid for only 3 months and limited to a single entry sparked the federal government's reaction. Moving now to the red chambers where the Senate has approved the Electricity Act Amendment Bill 2025 through second reading in a move to rescue the country's aligned power sector from looming collapse. Sponsored by Senator Eyinaya Ababire, Abia State, the amendment seeks to overhaul the 2023 Electricity Act by addressing regulatory gaps as some lawmakers propose capital punishment for vandals. Leading the debate, Senator Abaribe, who also chairs the Senate Committee on Power, warned that the country's electricity industry is buckling under the weight of inefficiencies and financial mismanagement as the federal government is currently indebted to the tune of 4 trillion naira in the power sector. Meanwhile, the Senate has mandated an immediate amendment to this bill. Meanwhile, The Senate has mandated a joint committee to investigate the alarming rise of Ponzi schemes across the country following the collapse of crypto bullion exchange CBET, which has reportedly defrauded investors of over 1.3 trillion naira. This decision followed a motion sponsored by Senator Adetokunbo Abiri, Lagos State. In a motion, the lawmaker expressed deep concern over the unchecked spread of fraudulent investment schemes, including the infamous MMM Nigeria 2016, MBF Forex 2020, and most recently CBET, which lured millions of Nigerians with promises of high returns on digital assets. Lawmakers in the debate warned that CBET's collapse had devastated financial and psychological consequences, pushing victims into depression, family breakdowns, and in some tragic cases, suicide. In the meantime, the Northwest Geopolitical Zone in the Senate has fixed 18th and 19th July as a new date for its zonal public hearing on the ongoing Constitution review exercise. Zonal public hearings for the review were held across the remaining five geopolitical zones of the country on 4th and 5th of July. However, the session for the Northwest, originally scheduled to be held in Kano, the Kano state capital, was suspended by the Senate during plenary last week Tuesday. The postponement followed the mourning period declared in honor of the late Aminu Dantata, who died in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates on Saturday, 28 June, and was buried in Medina, Saudi Arabia on Monday, 30 June. The announcement of the new date was made by the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Baru Jibrin, during plenary on Wednesday. In another development, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has responded to the allegations that he worked for a former head of state, the late General Sani Abacha. In a post on X on Wednesday, Obi released a document from 1996 to debunk the allegation that he worked for the military leader who ruled Nigeria from 1993 until his death in 1998. Recall that Reno Omokri, a critic of Obi, had accused him of working with the former head of state. But the former Anambra State governor released a document to clarify his position. We move now to Africa, where United States President Donald Trump on Wednesday hosted President of Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal at the White House in Washington, D.C. The meeting focused on business opportunities as the African leaders sought partnerships to develop their resources. According to report, during the lunch at the state dining room, Trump said the leaders hailed from very vibrant places with very valuable land, great minerals, great oil deposits, and wonderful people. Trump also hinted that the five countries were unlikely to face U.S. tariffs. At the meeting, Gabon's President Brice Oligui Nguema told Trump his country was open to investment and wanted to see its raw material resources processed locally, which would require more investment. Still in Africa, Kenya's president on Wednesday broke his silence over recent anti-government protests that left dozens dead, saying he would not allow anarchy in the country disguised as peaceful demonstrations. The president, William Ruto, said enough was enough and urged police to shoot in the leg those involved in looting and burning businesses. Weeks of protests have rocked Kenya after a blogger died in police custody last month, angering many Kenyans. Tensions heightened after a policeman shot a civilian at a close range during one of the demonstrations against police brutality. Thousands joined out for protests on June 25th, which coincided with the one-year anniversary of huge anti-tax protests. We move now to the foreign scene where US President Donald Trump imposed a 50% tariff on key Brazilian steel supplier on Wednesday as he called for an end on the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro on charges of attempting to stage a coup. In a letter to Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Trump called the trial an international disgrace. Brazil and the United States escalated their row Wednesday over President Donald Trump's support for coup-accused ex-leader Jair Bolsonaro, with the American president slapping a 50% tariff on one of its main steel suppliers. Trump has strongly criticized the persecution of right-wing Ali Bolsonaro, who is on trial for allegedly plotting to cling to power after his supporters stormed parliament following his 2022 election loss to leftist Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Announced he would slap a 50% tariff on Brazil import starting August 1st, citing Brazil's insidious attacks on free election and warning of escalation if the country retaliates. Still on the foreign scene, Russia launched a massive drone and missile attack on Kiev for the second night running, killing at least two people, Ukrainian authorities said on Thursday. Residents sheltered in metro stations during the 10-hour barrage that hit residential buildings, garages, and a gas station. The major attack on Ukraine was the second by Moscow in as many days and came as Russia Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was set to meet his US counterpart Marco Rubio in Malaysia. Timur Takchenko, head of the capital's military administration, said two people were killed in the Russian attack. He earlier said 13 people were reportedly wounded. Still to come in the news. PSG thrashed Real Madrid to reach Club World Cup final. Stay tuned for details of this in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. On a business news, Nigeria's currency, the naira, depreciated against the dollar at the official foreign exchange market 24 hours after recording gains. According to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the naira dropped to 1,592 against the dollar on Tuesday, compared to 1,528 naira on Monday. The development means that the naira weakened by 0.89 naira to the dollar on a day-to-day basis. Meanwhile, on the black market, the naira remained flat against dollar at 1,550 on Tuesday, the same rate as the previous day. Recall that the naira appreciated across foreign exchange markets on Monday. Still in business, Dangote Refinery has announced plans to dump imports from the United States and other countries and rely 100% on domestic crude. According to Bloomberg, the vice president of Dangote Industries, Davakuma Edwin, made this known during an interview. Edwin noted that Dangote Refinery received half of its crude in June from local producers who will be able to sell more to the facility as their foreign supply obligations end. According to Bloomberg, in June, the refinery sourced 53% of its crude supply from domestic producers and 47% from the US. In health, following the latest flood risks led by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, the Nigerian Emergency Management Agency has deployed mobile intensive care unit ambulances to some of its operation offices across the country. The Director General of NEMA, Zubaida Umar, said the approval of the deployment followed an assessment that revealed critical equipment gaps in some of the field's office. A statement from the agency indicated that ambulances have been dispatched to NEMA's operational office in Kaduna, Owerri, and Uyo. The decision, Umar noted, was based on vulnerability assessment and logistical consideration. Still in health, three people were killed by flash floods in U.S. state of New Mexico. Officials said Tuesday, just days after a devastating flood claimed more than 100 lives in neighboring Texas. The historic flash flood struck Ruidoso, a small town about 150 miles south of Albuquerque, New Mexico. According to the statement, the victims, a man and two children, were caught in rushing floodwaters and carried downstream. Authorities said dozens of rescues have been conducted, with search operations still underway. Reports to the National Weather Service declared a flash flood emergency earlier in the day. To sports news now, where Inter Miami captain Lionel Messi made history after scoring a brace in his side's Major League Soccer, a win against New England in the early hours of today. A brace from Messi ensured Inter Miami defeated New England in an away fixture at Gilgate Stadium. The Argentina forward scored the two goals in the first half during the encounter. His goals against the home team means Messi has now become the first player in the history of MLS to score two goals plus in four consecutive regular season matches. Still in sport, Fabian Ruiz scored twice as European champions Paris Saint-Germain turned on his toe in their reunion with Kylian Mbappe on Wednesday, thrashing Real Madrid 4-0 in the semi-finals of the Club World Cup to set up a final showdown with Chelsea. Rios and Usmani scored inside the opening 9 minutes to stone Real and silence the majority of the 77,542 crowd who were wearing white at the MetLife Stadium outside New York. The Spanish midfielder added another before halftime, and Goncalo Ramos got a late fourth as Luis Enrique's side moved one game away from glory at FIFA's new tournament. Meanwhile, victory against Chelsea on Sunday would complete a campaign of unparalleled success for the Parisians, who won the French title and then the first UEFA Champions League in their history in May. On entertainment news, British pop star Ed Sheeran has swapped a microphone for paintbrushes, with the fruit of his endeavours to go on display later this week, the London Gallery exhibiting his works confirmed Wednesday. The abstract pieces, colourful Jackson Pollock painting and print, will be available to buy, with part of the proceeds going to Ed Sheeran's foundation, which supports musical education in schools. The gallery said they are also set to be exhibited at Henny Art Gallery in central London from Friday until August the 1st, with a collection called Cosmic Car Park Painting. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. I am Emma John James, and you've been watching Spectrum News at 10. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.